All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Tuesday testimonial. We are honored and privileged to have Steve Bishop, who you probably have read his story because we have posted it in here. He's got an incredible, journey that he's been on, one that a lot of people diagnosed with what he's been diagnosed with don't get to enjoy. And I think that Steve has a son named Chris, if I'm not mistaken, and 20 years old.
22
years old. And so, he's got a story all in itself wrapped up into how this has affected his family and the fact that he's around to see his son. And it's just an incredible thing. I've just gotten to meet Steve tonight, and I'm so excited to have you guys hear his story. I'm just going to let him kind of walk through basically what has happened. And I want you to sit back, maybe take some notes. This is going to be in this group, but I think the story that he has to share is, of course, unique to his. Of course, we do not say that we cure, mitigate, treat any kind of disease or illness, but we all know that activation can certainly add to the quality of life. And in Steve's case, it's very, very compelling. So Steve, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to give you the full screen. And then once you're done talking, I'll probably have some questions to ask you. Okay?
Okay.
All righty.
Sounds
We're going to
good.
take it from wherever you want to and what happened and where you're at now.
Oh boy. Full script, huh? Okay. Well, thank you for having me on first off. I really appreciate it. And I really do enjoy sharing my message because I've been so fortunate in the way things that have happened in my life. Short, I'll try and make it as short as possible, at least as succinct as possible. And that is the fact that I was diagnosed with ALS back in 2001. ALS is a neurodegenerative disease. And literally they told me, you got 2 to 5 years left to live, get your affairs in order, and don't plan anything more than 3 months in advance because you could be in a wheelchair. And then they shooed me out of the office. And I would like to say that I just had a jerk of a doctor. However, after all these years, that's truly the way most neurologists that are diagnosing ALS, that's the message that they have been told to deliver, and that there's not much to do about it. And at the time, I was married and we had a 3-year-old son. So I was looking at career, I was looking at family, I was looking at my son, and I was thinking about my son not having a dad and all these sort of things. So there was about depression, of course, and things like that you might imagine, but eventually kicked through it and realized that whatever is, and let's just see what we can do about it. And a big part of it was I quit my job immediately. My doctor told me, if you can possibly go on disability financially, I would recommend doing it because I know what this disease does. And I had a good job, I had good insurance, and it made it possible, albeit it was with a significant cost reduction in our lifestyle. But I stopped working in 2001. And I mention that for one key purpose, and that is when you don't work, your stress is reduced. And I absolutely believe that part of my progression and part of my longevity has been due to a lack of stress. And I have no other solution for that. You got to do what you got to do to try and minimize that as much as possible. So I haven't told this story in quite some time. So if I bounce around a little bit, I ask for your forgiveness. But essentially, I went on disability, and we were set up okay with insurance and just lived our life. And I think the reduction in stress absolutely helped my progression. And I think I had a slow progression anyway, which is, of course, very helpful. Because before you mitigate something, if you have a quick progression, you got to move that much faster, right? I had the luxury of having a slow progression and, involvement in the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And this is a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into, but basically getting involved with the MDA and Jerry Lewis and all of that met Jerry Lewis, and he really helped us understand what a positive mental attitude was all about, and helped us come up with some mantras like every day is a Saturday at the Bishop's, life is too short to drink cheap wine, cheers, and just many other things. And he helped me come up with a mantra that I think has been essential for me. And a daily mantra is just a positive thing that helps you focus on what's important. And it was, I am healthy, I am whole in my body and my soul. And I said that on such a regular basis. I don't know what effect it had. And frankly, all of this stuff that I'm going to tell you, I don't have a quantitative ability to tell you what effect it had. All I know is where I'm sitting at you in front of you right now, 19 years later, after I was supposed to be gone after 2 to 5 years. So part of my mental attitude, well, 2009 comes around, and a great friend of ours, Vince Ward, who is somebody that you know, introduced us to LifeVantage, the company, in its youngest days, by the way. And he tries to tell me that he thinks he has something that might benefit me. And I'm a mathematics major. I'm very analytical. I'm skeptical as all get out. And, you know, he had to take the brunt of that, poor guy. but he had the wherewithal to actually introduce me to Dr. McCord, who was the final formulator for the Activator product. And I had an audience with him. I got to sit down with him and frankly became friends with him, which was pretty phenomenal. But he answered all my questions on why he thought it would help ALS, why the mechanism behind it, activating NRF2, might be a benefit in ALS. And this analytical mind said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense to me too. So that's why I started taking it. So this was back in 2009 when I started the NRF2, which was the first product. And you know, I didn't notice anything, and this is really important, I think, for most people to hear. I didn't notice anything specific to the ALS for a little over a year, right? I kept taking it because I knew what it was doing in my body made sense whether I had ALS or I had nothing. If you want to keep your body running at an optimal way, it made sense for me to take it. So there was no reason for me not to take it. And then about a year later, I just started having some really good experiences. I wasn't as tired. I started working out. I recovered from workouts. A year after that, I started driving again after 10 years of not driving. Can you imagine the independence affiliated with that? I mean, oh my God, it was incredible to be able to do that again. And life changed in a positive way for the most part, okay? I'm trying to think how I go along my journey, and I might be missing some stuff along the way, but the bottom line is I kept positive. I had my son that was growing up, and I'm going to bounce back 1 second. I remember thinking with Chris when he was 3 years old that I did not want him growing up, first off, not remembering who I was, not having an active memory of me. But also, if he did have one, remembering me as this crotchety old man in a wheelchair or a bed, being bedridden and being angry. So that was also part of the catalyst of having a positive attitude, is trying not to let that affect his outlook of me, because the word legacy kept popping up in my head, you know? So anyway, part of the positivity. Moving forward, I mean, it's been 19 years since I've been diagnosed with ALS. And most people, when they look at me, cannot tell anything's wrong. And I still have some issues that people don't see. I mean, I have fatigue, I have muscle wasting, I have issues typing and mouse control, just because of muscle loss and nerve loss. But none of these things look very physical. And I'm very blessed that I still can speak, because part of ALS is also bulbar, which affects all the bulbar muscles, including, you know, your breathing and your speech and your swallowing and all that. And a lot of ALS patients actually sound like they're slurring, because they have difficulty controlling their tongue muscle. Anyway, so see there, I just took a tangent on you, and I've lost track of where I was. So 19 years. Where people can tell where I'm at physically. It's been a blessing. I just got done. I am not involved with LifeVantage anymore. I have to tell you, unfortunately, about 2 years ago, got divorced, and that's a whole story. However, I mentioned to you that life changed when I started getting independence back. And that changed the relationship between myself and my ex-wife. And some of it good, some of it bad, but you don't need the whole history there. Anyway, changed the relationship. And two years ago, we got divorced. And it's okay. I mean, I think both of us have done okay with it. And I'm trying to see how it relates back to ALS, aside from the fact that I'm still continuing to thrive, have a positive attitude, and just enjoying life, and helping as much as I can with conversations like this, because I think it's going to affect a lot of people, and when you can just talk and have a conversation with you, Sandy, and hopefully it translates for other people into different journeys and so forth. And I was at I told you about that conference I was at. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people that have reached out from that, and it changed their lives. Whether it affected their journey with ALS physically, I don't know. And it may have been, the activating product, or it may have been the 7 other things that were mentioned there. But what I know is that having these type of conversations makes a difference to people, and it gives people hope. And I think hope is probably the first ingredient in almost any difficulty that you might be facing. All right, I'm done.
Well, I'm just sitting here because it takes me back to what I've been through. And I have said, even with the CEO of LifeVantage, Darren Jensen, I just did an interview with him, and I said, the only thing that LifeVantage really lacks is the messengers, because it has everything else. And if we were to be quiet about what we've been through, we're normal people. We've been through some struggles, but we have a positive outlook. I love what you say. I always said, if I'm okay, my kids are going to be okay. And it was very important for my kids to be okay. I have 3 daughters. And so I felt that positive attitude, and just where I'm going, not what could happen, but the journey that I'm on and where I want it to take me is important. But if I don't share that story, sometimes as painful as it is to share, then other people out there don't have what you said, the hope that we can provide just by sharing what we know. Now, again, who knows why we got through what we've been through, and where we're going to get through that. We don't know what caused that. We're not claiming it, but we're here to talk about it. We're here to share the message. And so, I'm just looking at some of the notes that I have here. You were talking about meeting with Dr. McCord, and I think more than anything, that reduction of oxidative stress, huge. The inflammation being gone, the fibrosis being gone. I've dealt with all of those things. I will tell you that Vince reached out to me too, Steve, in 2014. And he just talking to me about a business. I didn't even ask him what product he had. I said, get lost, dude. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. I was very skeptical. I was skeptical of everything, just like you. I have to experience it. Then I was diagnosed in 2015, and I went through chemo and the whole 9 yards. And I'm saying, I wish I would have known about this a long time ago. Who knows? But I'm with you when you say, whether you're healthy, whether you've got a condition, whether you've got a disease, you need to be activated, because you said it plainly, what's going on inside your body that you can't see. So if you would just reiterate that a little bit more, and just saying, what kept you taking this, what, finally got you beyond that hurdle of, I don't really believe him. It was meeting with Dr. McCord, but you decided to go ahead and take this. Maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but what do you have to lose?
Yeah. No, logically, for me, I think people experience things in so many different ways. Some people just say, okay, hey, I heard it from a doctor and I'm good. I needed to know the logistics behind how it worked, what it did, when it did that, what happened,
Mhm.
and what are the possible outcomes. All right, this is math stuff. This is analytical thinking is where it all came from. So when I was able to understand what it does, then I got this picture in my mind of, this knock on the cell door, every cell we have, and it's LifeVantage product saying, I need to talk to your DNA. And I just had this little picture going into my head. So then the DNA, then the message gets delivered via this NRF2 pathway, and the DNA says, okay, I gotcha. And the NRF2 says, I need you to upregulate these really, really important things. Okay. And that visual just made a ton of sense to me. And then I realized, okay, well, if that's actually happening and it's been proven, what are the effects of those things? So reduced oxidative stress. And then you find out, well, oxidative stress causes so many things. And then it got related to ALS, by the way. There's an upregulation or a presence of oxidative stress in the neuromuscular junction, which is where the nerves actually pass their signal on to the muscle tissue. And that oxidative stress is one of the things that kills the motor neurons in ALS, and frankly, it could be other diseases as well. So I'm scratching my head going, okay, if I've got this thing that reduces oxidative stress significantly, and this is one of the things that could be causing ALS, makes sense why I should take it. Oh, by the way, there are hundreds of other things that oxidative stress causes. And it could be, just all the stress in our environment and being able to deal with all these different things. So that's why it made sense for me to take it no matter what. And, how it affects each of us individually, Sandy, there's no promise for that, all I know is that if you've got a tool in your toolkit on personal health that is going to do things that are extremely beneficial on a cellular level. And, another kind of analogy that made sense to me was, instead of taking your antioxidants, you're making them at this incredible high level of what you did when you were young. It makes sense. And the whole theory of aging and radical, theory of aging with free radicals, it all makes sense. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but that's
Yeah.
what went through my head.
No, and the same thing for me, then when I did hear this, and I was sitting across the table from a biochemist who was talking way over my head, and I know I had that deer in the headlight look in my eyes, and he just finally said, Sandy, do you want me to tell you why I take this every day? And I said, yes. And he said, because when I swallow that pill, it goes to work repairing my body or repairing my cells. And he said, there's nothing else that I've ever seen do that. And I said, well, I'll be taking it every day from now on because you told me that. But it was just pretty incredible to me first that I had never heard of it before, after everything that I'd been through, because I went through the mastectomy, the bilateral mastectomy, the 20 weeks of chemo, the whole bald head, everything. Then I had an implants, and then I had an explant last spring because those implants were making me so sick. So all of this going on, no one had ever shared with me the product. Vince reached out to me again in May, bless his heart. I don't know if I would, as bad as I shut him down, but because and you said it yourself, that everybody comes to you with the best thing on the market, everything, but you said it yourself, and it's what got me to the science that backed it, the peer-reviewed study, the actual, there was some science, and it wasn't just somebody saying, hey, I've got the next best product in the world. That's important to me.
There's a lot of those statements, right? I've got the next thing, you got to take this and everything, but they really have just anecdotal evidence. And personal references are great. I think they're important, but when you have anecdotal evidence together with science, that's really incredible. And we were talking just earlier before that to engage your head into this process of whatever treatment you choose can do is super important, to where I know through the research that I've done and my experience and the people I've talked to and all of that, that my mind is engaged even at an unconscious level at this point after 11 years, okay? When I take my supplements, I know what they're doing, and I will not miss them because I know what they're doing. And I believe full-heartedly that I've got my mind activated in a positive manner to help them do even better than what they would do on a physical level, that combination. So I just think it's incredibly important to do that. And you kind of mentioned something too, you know, anytime you're facing some dilemma physically or mentally or whatever it is, you're going to have people crawl out of the woodwork trying to help you, because that's what I think humans do in general. But I'm going to tell you, listen to what resonates with you. And we talked about this earlier. Listen to what makes sense to you on a first pass, right? Through all the things that you get introduced to. And then once you figure out what resonates, then you do your own research, you ask questions. And then when you finally are satisfied, then you go full force into it. And you, at that point, have positively activated your mind process in the healing process. And that just, to me, is like the synergizing effect of, you know, Nerf 1, Nerf 2, and NAD. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, you might be wondering why you're still around, but just having known you for 30 minutes, your job here is not done. You know, your message is huge. You know, you are very real. And that's what I like. I'm not going to put my stamp on just any old thing. My friends and my family are too important to me for me to promote something I don't firmly believe in that could add value to somebody's life. And clearly, maybe that's what added value to your life. But I think that your mindset and everything, and that's exactly what my oncologist told me, your mindset's going to get you through anything. You're saying it true, you speak it, you believe it. You know, I love that you say, because we get a lot of people who will take the product for maybe 5 days, maybe 5 weeks, maybe 5 months. Well, it's not doing anything, so I'm not going to take it anymore. I think the guy in the ABC primetime investigation video, the one that resonates with me the most, I don't want to wait till I'm 80 years old to find out I should have taken it. Do you remember that part of it?
Oh, I absolutely do.
I love that, because my daughter, my oldest daughter, said, "Mom, I don't know why you're going to do that. That's for old people." And I said, "Honey, how old are you going to be in 20 years?" And I was diagnosed with breast cancer, person who's very healthy, otherwise fit, active, always ate right, did all the right things at 51 years old. And she said, and I said, you know, we can see weight loss products and things like that on the outside. We can see what those do. But it would be interesting for us to be able to stand in front of a mirror, Steve, and unzip from our forehead to our pelvis and open up just to see exactly what activation is doing. So I'm like you, I'm not going to miss a day just because of the science behind it. And, you know, if you have anything else that you'd like to share with the group, or some final, you know, words that you'd like to share with everybody, please have at it.
No, I think my biggest message is believe it, because it's real. And even if you don't feel it, it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. How that will manifest itself in your particular body with your DNA, we don't know, which is why we can't say we treat, cure, mitigate any diseases, because our bodies are amazing miracles. All we know is that when we activate our body in this particular way, we run as efficiently as we possibly can. And that, in my opinion, combined with the mental aspect of being applied to it, I think just kicks it into a turbo gear. And I think it gives us the best possible chance for defeating whatever we're trying to defeat in our particular physical situation, or frankly, mental situation too.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. And you know, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story tonight, taking time out of your schedule to come to us and share a message, a very, very important message. One of hope, one of, you know, just encouragement. It's awesome. I'm just so happy for you. And, you know, to me, looking at you, you're the picture of health. I wouldn't know what you've been through. And I feel like a lot of people say the same thing about me. They wouldn't know what we've been through, because, hey, you know, what are you going to do about it but just fight on? And so So thank you. And for all of those who are watching tonight, thank you for joining us. We're so happy that you're here. And someone invited you to this group tonight to share this message. They care enough about you. Please connect back with that person who brought you to the group to get some questions answered. If you have more questions and you need some more help, please reach out to me. We'll get those questions answered. But I think, you know, by and far and large, the most important thing that you do right now is get activated. Don't wait. Now's the time. So Steve, thank you again so much for joining us, and I look forward to talking with you again.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks again.
Uh-huh.